So I have all these old, unfinished songs that, despite the amount of time that's gone by, still manage to find their way into my mind from time to time. They appear when I wake up in the morning, when I'm getting ready for work. On the long and winding strips of road, they work their way back into my memory. And sometimes, they're in my dreams. No matter what I do, no matter how many times I try to outgrow them and let them fade away, I just can't seem to shake them. Because they're here, waiting for a chance to remind me they were once born of excitement, passion, and inspiration, that they're worthy of remembering. So every year I tell myself, this is the year I'm going to make this happen. And every year I find another reason to push it aside. Another day, another hobby, another new distraction. But I'm on a mission, and I know I can't give up. It seems to me that in the everyday mundane moments, I'm reminded that the music is still here, phasing in and out of my mind like a phantom, reminding me that it's waiting to exist. I've spent years daydreaming about making an album, and today I am ready to start taking the first steps towards making that a reality. So with this video series, I would invite you all to follow me along as I go through the process of creating an album, from its inception all the way up to its release. There's just one thing I need to get in order before I can really begin this journey, and that is a plan. So the first step in any good plan is to clearly identify what the main objective is. And for me, that is to create and release an album. More specifically, to create and release an album online with the option to eventually have it pressed on vinyl. So here's a general overview of my plan. And I just want to make a note that this is all based off of my own previous experiences, what's worked and what hasn't. And that if you're going to be making your own album, it might be entirely different based upon your own needs. There's a lot going on here. Let me break this down into stages so we can simplify it a bit. These are very simplified explanations of what I think needs to happen at each stage, and each of these is something that I want to explore more in depth as I make my way through the series. Stage 1, songwriting. So this is where I have enough raw material to put together something I call a song skeleton. That is something that looks like a beginning, middle, and end of a song, just like a super solid idea that's really bare bones, hence the term skeleton. Stage 2, demo. This is where I take my song skeleton and start fleshing it out until it's a bit more of a full arrangement. That is adding scratch, rhythm guitars and bass, programming drums and other VSTs. Once I have more of a fully realized instrumental demo, I'll start adding vocals and leads as well. Stage 3, pre-production. I like to think of pre-production in two different phases. The first phase being the song check phase and the second phase being the gear check phase. During the song check phase, there are a couple things I want to pay very close attention to. The first one being arrangement. That is, are there any melodic or rhythmic sources that are clashing in unwanted or unintended ways? The second one being tempo. If something feels like it's lacking energy, I might want to try speeding it up a little bit. If something feels like it's lacking impact, I want to try slowing it down for a little bit more weight. The last one being to cut things that are kind of holding the song back. If you're working through it and something is just not working out, it needs to be cut. It's not always fun, but sometimes you got to kill your darlings. In the end, the songs will be better for it. So phase 2 of pre-production is the gear check phase, and this is where I'm going to be looking at, do all of my instruments have new strings? Are they all set up, tuned, and intonated? Does my amp have nice fresh tubes? Is it biased? Is everything working properly? And are all of my cables working? Are my microphones working? Is my interface working properly? Is my computer okay? Do I have backup hard drives, etc.? All of this is to ensure that tracking goes as smoothly as possible. There's nothing worse than dealing with gear failure, and there's nothing that will quite take you out of tracking like having to deal with some kind of technical issue or malfunction that you need to troubleshoot. So do yourself a favor, set yourself up for success, keep your gear on point. Stage 4, tracking. So during the tracking phase, I want to be absolutely vigilant about getting the tightest and best performances possible. But while doing that, I want to make sure that I'm leaving room for some inspired moments as well as any final part changes. This is where I'm going to be committing to all the takes and finalizing the songs. I know some people say that you should have your songs completely perfectly written before you go into the tracking phase, but based off of my own experiences and what I've read from some other artists, it's just not the case. There's some people who go in the studio with basically nothing and come out with gold. Though, depending on who you are, your mileage might vary. Stage 5, mix prep. So during the mix prep days, we're gonna be dealing with a few things. The first one being editing. If I need to nudge things around a little bit, I will, but hopefully I've done my job correctly during tracking and I have to do as little editing as possible. The second part of that is going to be committing. That is, whether reamping or using an amp sim, those need to be committed down to tracks, as well as any samples or any VST sounds as well. After that, I want to be focusing on setting up a mixing session template. That way I can just jump into the mix and I have everything set up and I can get started. This is where I'll be color coding tracks, making sure all my track names are easily readable, and that I have some busing structure going on to work with when I start mixing. Stage 6, mixing. This one is a bit difficult to sum up quickly, but I'll do my best to give it a try. The first step of this is to balance all the instruments as well as set them correctly in the stereo field. After that, I'll be moving on to processing. That's where I use EQ, compression, saturation, and many other processes in order to kind of mold and make the relationship between all the tracks sit more correctly with each other. The third part of the mixing process is automation. This is where I might increase the volume of a section of a song in order to give this part more energy and more impact, or I might decrease the volume of a section of a song in order to make it feel a bit more dynamic. These are just two out of infinite possibilities that you can do with automation. Step 7, mastering. So no one really actually knows what a mastering engineer does, but it has something to do with your record, some kind of esoteric incantation, and a goat named Black Phillip, who apparently is there to bless the record. Dumb jokes aside, this is one of those areas that I am going to need to outsource this process to. One, because I don't really know too much about mastering, and two, I definitely don't know anything about mastering for vinyl. So I'll need to choose a mastering engineer to help me with those things. And then from there, I'll have to communicate back and forth with them to see what condition they want the mixes in, what volumes they want the mixes to sit at so that they can master them properly. And from there, hopefully the process is super smooth and I get final masters back for streaming services as well as for pressing on vinyl eventually. Stage 8, packaging and promo. This part is fairly straightforward. I need to find album artwork, whether that's through an artist, which I would prefer, or maybe I go take a cool photograph somewhere. At the very least, I could delve into the world of generated images through AI, though I prefer not to. Outside of that, I need to finalize the album name, I need to finalize the song names, the song lyrics, and I need to make sure anybody involved at all with the project is credited. From there, I might want to touch up on some kind of bio and maybe get some professional personal photography for myself. Stage 9, release. This is the final stage, probably one of the most exciting stages because it means we're pretty much done. From here, I need to pick a distribution platform, probably something like DistroKid, but I know there's a million other things out there. From there, I want to upload all of the finalized media and probably double check the spelling of anything, choose a release date, and at last hit submit. So what I have here is not just a to-do list that I can check off in any order. It is a roadmap that, as long as I follow sequentially, step by step, will eventually allow me to meet the end of my goal, which is to create and release this album. Looking at this all can be a bit daunting. There's a lot of work to be done, especially if I plan to do as much of this as possible on my own. However, it's also showing me exactly where I am in the process, and that all I have to do is keep my eyes on the goal directly in front of me, step by step, and eventually I'll make it to the end. I have a long journey ahead of me. However, I can confidently say I've never been more prepared than I am now. I have everything I need, and I'm excited to begin. So I hope that some of you out there might find this part of the process helpful. If you're interested in following me on my journey as I make my way through creating an album, please consider subscribing for more videos like this in the future. This video took quite a bit of work, so if you enjoyed this video or you know someone else who might, please like and share this video with others. As always, thank you all so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.